KUHSdenver.com. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the studio. Who do I have here? Lowell. But you're on the other side this time.
Yeah, exactly. That's a flip of the coin.
That's awesome. You know, I've got everything mixed down real nice. We can hear ourselves really good. Lowell, I mean, finally I get to get up close and personal with you, and now we get to question you about who you are, what you've done, starting from when you're 5 years old all the way to you're about 13. I'm going to patch out for a second so I can share this out. And everybody who's watching up there on Facebook Live, or if you're on the international camera, all around the world, wherever, you know, we have a huge audience, and it starts out with the Smoothie Jazz Show, and I told Lowell, I could tell it's heavy right now, which is great. You know, there are a lot of people who are interested in hearing this. So, Lowell, as I patch into you, you go ahead and start telling us about yourself and what grade school, junior high, or middle school, however they called it back then, up to now, and give us some insight about you, and I'll be right back in a second.
Well, it's interesting because as we age, things change. Vocabulary changes. I was raised by two teachers, my mom and my dad. My dad was a coach and a phys ed teacher. My mom was in the sciences. So that's an interesting background, being raised on a farm. So as a small kid, you know, the universe is yours. Everything's bigger than life, and I took that as no exception for my being able to move around it. So I was always barefoot and tan as a small boy running around the farm. And in doing that, I had a curiosity that was bigger than life for me. And as an adult, it's played well for me because I'm always asking questions. I'm always looking for more information, which could explain why I've never really quit learning, which also could explain why I love being on the radio and broadcasting live video on the internet. But when I was a 5-year-old into my middle school, which we called junior high back then, my middle school years, both my mom and dad taught me. So there was nothing I could get by with. And living on the farm, the neighborhood was different than community is today. Now, I'm sure there's probably communities around the country and around the world that everybody is known by everybody. But back when I was a kid, it's different than it is now. You actually, if you did something in town as a farm kid, it got home before you got home. And mom and dad knew about it. So you minded your P's and Q's no matter where you were around town or around the farm country. That also played well when you needed to get hay moved in. I was like the labor pool was the kids. So if you needed hay baled or crops weeded, the kids were volunteered automatically by their parents. And no money was exchanged. It was really interesting to be part of that culture and that camaraderie and security. It was very healthy for me. I really was grateful for that kind of growing up. And then being around animals, understanding the difference. You know, that you grew up with animals and their birth and their deaths, and so you just inherently understood what that was all about, and extended yourself into the science. And for me, I really extended myself into the science. I became a kid who just loved labs and chemistry. I started in my college career in the medical school, and you know, paying your own way through is difficult enough the way it is. But when you also had to work as you're in med school with all those science classes, you tend to burn out, which I did. And I've got some stories when I get back with Henry. Well, I'll share some more details about those stories with you. But as a young kid, I had no idea what I wanted to be or where I was going to go. I was just having fun being a kid and playing a lot of sports. So my doctorate didn't wind up in medicine. My doctorate wound up in the area of leadership and human development, which is why I love working with sports performers and elite executives. It helps me to stay grounded myself and satisfies my curiosity. There's always a problem that needs to be solved, and I like filling in the pieces and having fun doing it. So that's kind of the beginning for me, Henry.
The beginning, now,
yeah.
That's just a little bit. And the last one that we did with Steve Stalzy, he started out the same thing, and he was in North Denver, and you come all the way from the other side of the U.S. and in a whole different format.
I'm an Iowa kid. I'm a corn. My father-in-law said to my wife before we got married, says, you know, he's got that, what do they call that stuff? Silt? No, I said silk. It's corn silk. In my ears, he thought I was a little wet behind the ears.
Now you say before I got married, you got to say her name is Diane.
Diane,
now,
and
before you go there, tell us when you met, where you met her, how you met her, and
Well-
she ran from you. That's what I heard.
Well,
She told me that, but she was laughing.
She didn't even know I existed. She was a student leader at the University of Iowa, and I was a student leader. I started the yearbook up in 1977. Actually, no, sorry, 79, and she was a student senator and stuff. So I saw her walking around and stuff, and then I saw her more because she was dating my roommate.
Oh my God.
And the time when we really met and made a connection was when I was hanging out at my sister's apartment. My sister was married, and she had a free laundry service, so I would go over there to do my laundry. Well, I was down, taking a load, putting a load in, taking a load out. I go back up to her apartment, and here's Diane sitting on my sister's couch folding my underwear.
Oh my gosh, she wanted to see.
Yeah, well, thinking she's helping my sister. But it's my stuff. And I went, excuse me. So our first interaction wasn't exactly friendly. I said, those happen to be my boxers. And then,
She's checking them out.
Well, I don't know about
do
that.
these fit you?
But a few
Here,
months,
let's get a change going on there.
few months later, my roommate made the wrong decision, and a good one for me, and then our relationship began.
Isn't that cool? That happens in a lot of relationships where you meet somebody through them, either dating somebody or they come across you and they're with somebody else, but they're eyeballing you, and that's probably who they really wanted.
At that time in my life, I had no idea if any woman was eyeballing me or not. I was so naive. There are still dimes today.
You're still naive.
Yeah, exactly. I don't get it. I just love life and go through it the way I can. And I have no idea. My wife will tell me I'm at a meeting or a seminar or something. She says, that lady over there, she's hitting on you. I go, what?
You can't even tell.
What are you talking about? I don't understand. What?
They know it. They can see it. They can spot it a mile away.
And I've never really got that. So we've been married on July 7th of this year. We'll be married 40 years.
40 years.
Yeah, 40 years, dude. Well, you're
and
close.
I'm much more than you.
Yeah, I'm much more.
How did you do this? I mean, how did you? You guys have your ups and downs. Everybody does.
Yeah, exactly.
And as you go through life, and you had children. Now, tell us about your children.
Well, we've got two adult kids. My son is 37, and my daughter is going to be 34 at the end of the month. My son has 5 kids, 4 boys and a girl.
So you're a grandpa?
Yeah, grandpa, and a 6th one on the way. My daughter's pregnant with her first. I'm really excited about that because there were times, and I've told her this, it's not a secret. I didn't think she was ever going to have kids. I was never sure that anybody would tolerate her long enough to.
She's going to hear this.
Oh yeah, well, and she knows it's true. I've told her before. I don't
know how anybody tolerates you.
She's a tough lady, and it's to her credit. I mean, that's part of who she is, and she comes by it honestly. I'm telling you, she comes by.
Does she
really
get that
honestly.
from your side?
No. Her
Diane's
mother.
side.
Yeah, Diane is a CPA, and she's a really stout, very focused, detail-oriented individual. And
now she's, I got to
Molly
meet her.
gets that from her.
She's got excessive humor about her.
Yeah, well,
and everybody tells her that too.
Well, and then she tells me I'm not funny. I'm the funny one, she says, and you're not. But she, she's got a 5 foot nothing size. She's 5'2". She says she's 5'2". She's not. She's shorter than that. But who's going to disagree with her? She's always right, and she's tough. She's tough as nails, and a very cute little body. So.
Now, as you guys got going, everybody has tough times in their lives. You were out in Iowa.
Yep.
What brought you down this way?
Well, like a lot of things in life, when there's major changes, you kind of think about, what are we doing here?
We got to do something.
Well, the kids left. So we're in empty nesters, and we had this huge house on a fairly good-sized piece of land. Even though I love the outdoors and planting and gardening and stuff, it was just way too much. And it was in Chicago. We had moved from Iowa to Illinois with the kids. And Chicago, it's dirty in the wintertime.
Oh my God!
And it's sad in the wintertime.
Is it really?
There's not a lot of time where it's happy. There's
grumpy in Chicago.
Well, there's grumpy people there. That explains why you get cut off in traffic.
And they say this. I was reading a thing about the most happiest countries in the world, and I think it's Sweden or one of those places back, on the other side of the pond, that are the happiest. And Denver is way down there.
Well, if we're way down, Chicago is like
at the bottom
in some other place, because we love Colorado.
It's funny how Denver sank. They sank all the way down.
It's those Chicagoans coming here.
It could be.
The East is migrating west.
It feels like it. Everybody knows it too. Everybody says, "What is wrong with all these people?" And they can't drive in this freaking weather.
And you asked me about how we did it for 40 years. I I tend to come at it in two perspectives. One, the human being, male, ego side, and then I come at from the doctoral, scholarly side of things.
Trying to look at it and
yeah, objectively, from a distance.
Well, as far as
yes, that's not good. But it's you know, because you've been there in that position as long as you have, that it takes a lot of grit and a lot of honesty and a lot of admission that I was wrong.
Babe, I was wrong. I love you. Sure you do, you son of a biscuit.
It's my fault. It's my fault. And it's for competitive people. I get these a lot of because I have players who ask me, how have you been married for so long? And this is their third or whatever, or they're having trouble even getting to their first. And I say to them, I says, you've got to be able to humble yourself.
Now, one thing that you've done, I mean, you help a lot of these pro athletes, elites. And you travel, and sometimes Diane travels. You guys travel and do things. How do you guys handle that? Okay, you're going to this place, she's going to this place, so you both go to the same place.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah, we actually, despite how some people behave with their spouses, we like hanging out with each other, and not because we're not, we do travel, so we're not always together, but. As much as we can, we want to be in the same place. We coordinate, that's the other thing, communicating, share calendars so that we don't crisscross or misdirect, because we went down to one car.
That's kind of, we are too. And I like, that's kind of smart in this day and age. It's kind of smart to go to the one car because you get the full value out of that car because you're paying for it.
Oh, yeah.
And, people buy houses, buy cars, multiple cars, 3 or 4 cars, and one sits in the driveway all the time. You're paying for it, insurance and all this gas, but you use the hell out of that car.
Well, and we're not. Yes, you're right, absolutely right. And we have to be really conscious of each other. So that's the other thing that kind of raises the level of sensitivity. But then we also have the stories coming back that keeps everything fresh too, about where'd you go, who'd you see, and because I'm in, like I went to the NFL Combine, for example, or I went to the NFL Draft. Those are places where I get to see certain people. And I'm a little jaundiced because I see those people all the time anyway. Yeah. So I become an observer, and I bring those stories back to Diane, and she just, you
put her to sleep.
Well, kind of. But I tell you what, though, she...
Isn't it funny? We want to share so much, and sometimes they says, oh, did you see that on TV? Or check this out while you're talking.
And she says, stop. What's your point? Move on. Excuse me? Maybe he had to be there.
It's true.
Well,
if they're not there getting their own perspective of what was there, you're trying to do it in this a descriptive manner. This is the way it was. They look at you like,
I even have proof. I have video.
Look at
here. Look.
Oh, yeah. They always do that.
But she loves the privileges. Well, I get passes,
and so,
field stuff, and court stuff. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you could see behind us on some of the some of the pictures that we have behind us, some of the places you've been. Now we got a real nice photo of you two sitting on the steps. It's coming up here shortly. Where were you guys at?
That was the Capitol. Downtown
Denver.
Yeah, so they've got
right
that
on the
bottom of the step. Yeah, on the riser.
I really like that picture. I was rolling past it and I said, what did I just see? And that's it right there. So
and we're on a scavenger hunt there, which is why we're wearing the Iowa Hawkeyes stuff. Diane actually made those shirts with appliques, and it's an University of Iowa alumni scavenger hunt. And this was part of our scavenger hunt. We had to find that sign.
Now, you continued on with your education up north at the University of Northern Colorado?
No, Colorado State.
Colorado State.
Colorado State, the Rammies.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And tell us about that, what you did there and how much fun you had there. And we've seen, you and I have been around to some of these races and things like that. And some of the people from out there come over there and set up there. And hey, look who's here, of all places.
And the cross-country team was there. Yeah. And CSU, like any university, is got... It's that culture, that vitality, the youthfulness of it. And people question me, say, well, why are you going back to get your PhD at your age? I went, excuse me?
That's
I'm going, I was like 56 at the time, and I'm going, what? So I'm just curious. I have love knowledge. And then being in that environment keeps you young. Yes. Keeps you vital and
keeps you working and running around.
Well, and I connected with the athletic program and the teams there, and then I had a 3-year contract with the football team with Jim McElwain. We made some great runs over 3 years.
That was really nice the way they went to
two bowl games, yes. 2 bowl games in 3 years, and still to this date, ESPN's capturing of the last 3 minutes of that bowl win at the at the New Mexico Bowl. It's still one of the top videos they show.
Over and over to like
because
to
we
promotion.
we were down by almost 30 points at halftime, and we came back to win it by 3.
And that was so awesome. I think everybody was watching it. Yes.
Well, it was,
pushing for it.
and to be there, it's a once in a lifetime kind of situation.
The
and to
volume of the screaming and stuff.
Well,
was probably
and to look in the kids' eyes on the sideline and know that what we had worked for was working. It just fit.
Okay, now you know that they've put up the new stadium out there. And
Yeah.
everything. And so they have a race up there. I think it's a 5K, 10K race that now everybody goes and does, and they do it in the new stadium. You come in on the up on the screens and stuff. Have you done that race?
Yeah, I've done that race. In fact, I was just there this morning, and with things that are new, stuff breaks. Well, their entire field broke, so they're getting a brand new football field for free because it on warranty or whatever they call it. But new stuff breaks.
Yeah.
So it's a great stadium. I love this.
Beautiful.
The trophy, or not trophy, the statue in front of the stadium with the 2 rams butting heads is kind of cool to look at.
And
it's a great facility.
It's awesome, and going to that, they've changed a lot of things up there up north. It's like even all of Colorado has changed. You travel up north, you got the Budweiser Center as you're heading north. God, what is all? And then it's just even Jake Jab's up that way. Along the side, he knew because he had it out in the field at first, and all of a sudden there's all this housing and everything.
It's an amazing. I came from Chicago, and a big city, and I get to big cities all the time, and I can see the progression of humanity is going to get connected between here where we're at in North Glen in the studio is going to be able to see homes and stuff between here and Fort Collins. I mean,
That's
Fort
right.
Collins
And
will
they
be
say
a
also
suburb.
from here to Castle Rock all the way to the Springs, it's cropping up everywhere. It's like just like a Los Angeles city, like the way it's all spread
Damn
out.
Chicagoans.
Chicago's just like that.
They're coming here. That's why it's happening.
It's not
Damn
like
Chicagoans are coming here.
It's
showing
not
up.
like New York City. They go straight up.
Yeah, I don't. I like the fact that we kind of keep it low profile.
But we've got there's a mayoral runoff going on, and boy, it's really getting heated. I don't know if you.
Are they running really, or is it they creeping?
They're creeping. Good God. Now give us your insight. I mean, you see a lot of things. You talk to a lot of people. You've got this mayoral race going off, and it's creating a lot of havoc, I think, amongst a lot of people.
Well, I just this morning I was talking to my one of my PhD colleagues, and she was the committee chair for my PhD, and we were talking about the attitude in communities, and I think it has its roots in the political battles that are going on right now. There's a lot of discord and unrest and just negative vibes going on, and people are relying on that as a way to communicate this hate mongering, hate language kind of thinking, and it's not creating any good behaviors. And this woman that is running against has caused a runoff with Hancock, and I have no affiliation one way or the other.
Neither do I. I want to hear.
It's just the behavior
Yes.
that bothers me. To accept someone. Look, I'm a kid of history because we were told to learn history, American history. And when you're asked what does NAACP mean, and you go National Association of I mean that doesn't make sense to me.
Everybody, it seems like you, I, and anybody or everybody knows what the meaning of that.
Well, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. I mean, if you don't get that right, you're not lined up. So how can you be a mayoral candidate, let alone a mayor of a community that has over, I think it's over 60% people of color?
Yes.
It's behavior. I question the behavior.
That's what he does. That's what you do in your profession.
We call it mental conditioning.
Okay, let's go over this.
Yeah.
I like when you do this.
Yeah.
You run into a lot of these young people. Okay, so because you do what you do and you talk to, okay, let's take a super athlete.
Mm-hmm.
He just joined the Denver Broncos.
Yep.
Okay, let's not use no names. This is just
because I could, but I'm not going to.
No. And you know that a lot of them are not focused and they're not aligned.
Well, it's a good question at this time because next Monday, they just got done with mandatory OTA. So they're done with it this week. In fact, Von Miller was at a baseball game this week saying, hey, this and that and the other thing. So the rookies have their training, which is not necessarily on the field. And it's where the National Football Players Association has courses that they ask every franchise to provide for the rookies. Well, this young rookie, their example, comes in and he's got to adjust to different things he's never done before. One of which is he's being held accountable as an adult. There's nobody, here's where you go eat, here's what you wear, here's where your class schedule is. No, it's all you. You have to take care of that. That's a huge adjustment for a lot of these kids.
Yeah, and sometimes they go out and about into the community, start drinking, meet girls, all kinds of things could happen. In fact, I was watching on TV just the other day, they were talking about, it was one of the Denver Nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
He was lured in by something phony. He was just catfished in.
Yeah.
And that could happen to some of these young people. Now, do you go over all this kind of stuff?
Oh my gosh. Well,
I mean, you have your plan, you hand them somewhat like of a booklet? Or
because each player is individually different. Yeah.
For them?
So I have to create an individual profiling document for them. I have a whole system that is unique for them, so they come out with their own data, their own numbers that we work with and go over. It's called an RMP. It's an assessment program I use, and then we create a book for them. But to your point about social media being the example, this is many times the first time they've been allowed to do this stuff.
Wow.
Because in college, it was all about compliance. You know,
Right.
NCAA rules, the college rules,
And
conference
they've
rules.
really amended a lot of the rules now because of all these things that have been happening, court, things that go on with some of these young people. So I know the amendments have come out and they've cleaned up a lot of things. And I know into the professional area, they really have.
Well, and then
stringent.
going back to those classes the rookies have, this is the first time I've ever heard anything about sexual harassment.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've ever heard about financial management, being
That's big.
fiscally responsible.
Yeah, that's-
You know, you have to pay your own mortgage if you bought a house, and some of them
I
do
do?
that.
I couldn't believe that.
Well, and insurance. It's
Yeah.
stuff as simple as what you and I take for granted. We have insurance we have to get for our cars. First, they've never probably had a car before. In college, many of them had these little scooters because they're dormed close by, or their apartments are close by campus. So they become a pro, lots of money in their pocket. They get wooed very quickly.
To all the things
because
that
they
are out there.
haven't been able to see it for a long time.
Right.
Still have human desires. That's what it's all
That's
about.
right.
But very little training on how to control those desires and focus them in the right way.
And that's what you do.
Yes, sir.
And so, now let's take it to the pro level where you get some of the pros that have been in there
Mhm.
for a while and they just need some guidance and they know they do. So they come to you. How do you get that readjusted? That's got to be difficult on some of them.
and sometimes
Sometimes they say, F you.
And I fire
No,
them.
I ain't going to put up with this.
and I
crap."
fire them.
Yeah, so it's just that's it.
Yeah,
You're
well, it's on a therapeutic example would be someone who's going to a therapist for alcoholism.
right.
First of all, they have to admit that they're an alcoholic.
Yeah.
So with the player, the equivalent to that is you have to admit you have a problem. You have to
And
admit
some
that
you can't get to do that.
Well,
can
like
you?
I said, you can't catch the ball. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. But look at the stats.
Take a
right
look at
here.
what you're doing.
Right here. You just came off the field and you caught 3 passes out of 20. How
That's
can you
like-
tell me you can catch the
yeah.
ball? Now, are you capable? Yes, you're capable. Are
But
you?
you can dig in there and find where something's not right.
What am
But
I?
could it even be the shoes you're wearing?
Well, even better than that. Yes, it could be.
Even better than that.
Is weather. I had one kid at Colorado State when I first started the program there with the Rams. It was heat. Didn't like hot days.
It just could not catch.
Didn't like it.
Couldn't do nothing.
So in
under the heat.
August, when we had like a record 100-degree days during 2 days, the kid was toast. And he was, he had the pro body. He was his senior year and he had done well the year before. So everybody had these high expectations. So you compound his lack of interest in hot weather with his disappointment in the expectations that others had for him. He was a basket case. So to change those behaviors, you have to be sometimes very, very simple so that they connect with very, very simple things. And if they feel like they're the ones who have created them themselves,
Then they feel good about it.
they can
getting
take
it done.
ownership.
Yes.
Then they
Once you
don't.
take ownership, you're fine.
Yeah, and they don't fight me then.
They don't think that it's you stuffing it down.
Because they don't want to be. You can't tell me what to do.
That's the point.
I'm the pro. I'm the guy who's making the big bucks.
Yeah.
Not after you pay me.
You're gonna pick me some.
Yeah.
Now, Lowell, have you ever run into a situation to where, they corner you into some situation to where you said, "Man, this is a bad situation for me," and you can't get out?
Yeah, I've had in the last couple of years, especially with the frequency with which athletes, no matter what the sport is, are using controlled substances.
Wow.
Especially with more availability of cannabis around the country, and many know who listen to my show, and you as well know that I'm pro cannabis from the standpoint of
There is. I mean, everybody is going pro cannabis, and now I fret when I hear in Alabama, wherever it's not legal, they were caught with half a ounce of, and they're going to jail for 2 years. Huh?
So I have to pay attention to that stuff, just like I pay attention to social media. I've got special programs that I can monitor my athletes and see what they're doing. The cannabis connection was what caused a very difficult situation for me. I was referred by one of my players to another player who was actively using cannabis, and initially for the right reasons, to help get through the soreness and the trauma. He's a high class pitcher, throws hard, so that's a physically draining and painful outcome. Sometimes your body aches after you throw 90 miles an hour for 5-6 innings.
Your arms hurt.
Oh yeah, I mean he's a strong athlete.
Now CBD oil and all that kind of good stuff. I see a lot of people that are really pushing CBD oil.
Well, and that's where our problem came with him. He wanted to smoke.
I think can't they do edibles or anything like that?
Well, that's what I tried to convince him of, and he didn't. He was the
smoking is bad for you.
Well, not only that, but it's hard to control dosage. Well, yeah, because he thought he had a cycle, like he would participate after a pitching outing, and then he would do it a few hours before. But then he had difficulty in that game. And I said, "Are you concerned that it might be how much THC you're getting in your system?" And remember too that baseball is different than football or other sports. They don't necessarily suspend a player if they're tested positive for THC.
Oh, yeah.
They handle it differently, which I think is very progressive. But those issues create this freedom they think they have.
Okay, I didn't get.
Well, and then they set up these
kind of trouble.
Well, exactly, and they follow these trails across from town to town with connections. Say when they land in, let's say Chicago, which is only medical related cannabis, not recreational, he can't get exactly what he wants. And so he has connections that he calls them before he gets there.
Connections.
And they meet him
Chicago,
at the hotel.
But you know Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. But his issue was he wasn't socially aware. He was being abusive.
Now, you know that, there's the Air Force Academy. There's a lot of players down there. You know your KUHS is down there, right?
Yes. Yes, really?
It scared everybody. No, he's not coming here, is he?
Do we have to have him there?
Now, do you have any people down there that you help in this respect, and who go to the Air Force Academy?
Yeah, I've got one athlete. He just graduated, so I guess officially he's no longer there. And then I've had other athletes in the past. But more importantly, I've got actually officers that are there that were in the military. So I've also worked with Special Forces people. And so I've had Air Force, Air Command folks that are on staff now teaching down there. And that's that environment alone is
something else.
Well, it's very interesting, and has to be admired and respected for what they do as students and what they do as, if they're a student athlete at the Air Force Academy or the Naval Academy or Army. It's more than any other Division I athlete would have to go through, because academics, there is no second chance.
That's right. They're stringent military.
Oh my gosh. Now, they do, however, get a little bit better consideration in time management than, say, Colorado State students, football student athletes, because when their classwork is done, they go immediately to football, and in many cases they're transported there.
Jesus.
Where at CSU
you are militaristic.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's just the way it works.
Yeah. It's I love what I do because I'm around young people, and I
get to listen to all these variables.
Yeah, it's so great. I like putting puzzles together, and my curiosity is satisfied. And I've got ADD squirrel that I have to keep under control as well. So that's helpful to be distracted by so many great things. But at the end of the line, I also have to deliver just like I ask my players to deliver.
And that's nice. You're listening to KUHS Radio TV here with Dr. Lowell, up close and personal, for in case you just joined us. And he's sitting right next to me. He's on the other side this time. Usually he has great guests in here.
This is weird.
No, it's not. He loves it. And I was excited to have him on this side because, you never get to talk to him. We see him bringing in all these other fabulous guests in here, and you bring in some really good people in here. You've had all variables, even for the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
You've had ladies who do, things for their body in terms of
PFL,
yes,
Professional
yes,
Fighters League.
yes, and you've had Huggy Bear in here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you've had all kinds of places to go see things. And tell us about that. This one that you brought in here, he went all the way. We've got to talk about this one because this one was it was touching to me.
That's a short story we should write because it didn't end well.
Well,
it ended well, and then it didn't end well.
Yes, there you go.
It was like 2 chapters there.
Yeah, it was like, to me, it wasn't supposed to go that way for him.
Yeah,
and that's why it probably didn't end well, because I wonder if he had it in his mind that he thought he wasn't supposed to be there.
Well,
Let's start from the very beginning.
You make
how
a good
you started
point.
with him.
Yeah, Cuddly Bear, Josh Cuddly Bear Copeland is a local boy, Thornton guy, father, husband. That he studied to become a youth minister, but he's a big guy, a 6'3", at his heaviest time probably around 270. His weigh in at fight time was probably closer to 235 to 40. Heavyweight, cage fighter, whether it was UFC or in the case where he went on to the $1 Million Championship round, which was PFL, Professional Fighters League. He started from humble beginnings. I mean, just working the circuit around the area.
He wasn't supposed to be there. How did he get
Yeah.
there? Now let's tell us.
Yeah,
like you said, that should have been a short story because he wasn't supposed to be there.
PFL created has a strategy where they allow a fighter to come in and, by their record, qualify for the playoffs, if you will. Now, that's a format that professional wrestling at the UFC level doesn't do. You come in, you get a record, you get asked to come in and fight in championships. PFL is doing it a different way, which is way more exciting. Well, Josh gets a chance. He wins his last fight, which was the fight he had to win to get into the playoffs. All right, so he gets in the playoffs. They look at his record, and everybody's going, he's going to get knocked out the first round because he has to take on the first-seeded guy, being that he's the last-seeded guy in his weight class. He knocks the guy out.
That was so crazy. Me and you were like, huh?
Yeah, it was. And it just, and I mean, he has it in him. He trains hard. He works on all aspects of his game. He truly is a cuddly bear and a great human being. And so he goes to the finals on New Year's Eve in New York City at Madison Square Gardens for $1 million. The winner
freaking bucks.
Yeah, gets $1 million. Now, he has a payday too if he loses, but that's not who he or any of the fighters that are there are not thinking that way. So I told Josh when he was going into the playoffs that if he wins and goes to the championship, I would be in New York City.
And you were.
Yeah, I would go to Madison Square Garden.
You went to New York City on New Year's Eve of all times to be in New York City.
It was crazy.
Millions of people are there in New York City on New Year's Eve.
It was insanely fun.
Was it cold that day?
No, actually it wasn't. It was one of those rainy, warm, kind of 40-ish days. And if anybody's ever been in downtown New York City around Madison Square Garden, you know it's congested. It's dank. It's dreary, but it's fun. It's extremely fun.
Dank and dreary.
Yeah, and then it had fun.
That was a good descriptive. Dank and dreary.
Because it's wet and but it was fun. I mean, and you're talking to people and learning about what they're trying to set up, and it was really well done. PFL, my hat's off to PFL. They did a great job. Created a moment I'll never forget. Josh regretfully does not win the fight and comes in second. But that being said, many people didn't know that Josh was suffering from some injuries that he had and were kind of working on him before the fight. He was desperately try to get through it and become get better
and get healthy about it.
Yeah, and then because of the injuries, he was going after it early to see if he could get him in the first round. And the Brazilian was healthy and very mobile, and he put a beating on Josh to the point where they took him to the hospital right away.
Yeah.
Had some severe cuts, some head trauma that fortunately didn't turn out too badly. But as many athletes who feel success quickly, who may not be prepared with it, Josh might have been one of those people, because a few weeks after he got back and was on his way to recovery from his injuries. an incident at home happened, and he was brought into a situation that is hard to recover from. And his wife filed charges on him.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, and that was sad.
That's very sad.
Because I know his wife. I've met his little boy. His little boy's been in the studio with us, and it's just tough to see that happen, especially with somebody like him.
And you know, like you said, it's sad, but you were a part of it. And you brought a lot of that part here, and we got to broadcast it live, and everybody was looking at it. Even the other channels started bringing them into their stations. If you notice that, a lot of the stuff that Lowell brings in here, they redo on the big channels too. Yeah. And it's interesting to see that done. It's like,
well, and we're taking a different approach to looking at sports through the eyes of the athletes themselves first. That's why we bring them on as guests to get their opinions about their impressions of their sport, their impressions of their competitors and the training process. We then bring in nutritionists to talk about that. The
nutritionist is really good. I really like when you bring Nikki in here, because she is one of the best nutritionists I've seen that's been brought into the studio. She's got it down.
Well, really. she's putting me through some loops right now. I was called out by one of my athletes about what I was doing with Nikki, and I had to say, "Oops."
That's funny.
And it was good timing because I was having some issues with my gut, and Nikki, to her credit, and what Henry's saying is she's right on it, and she's a functional nutritionist, which means...
and that's kind of hard and rare in this field. Some people try to sell you keto diet. And, you know.
And then people have asked me, are you on the keto diet? And I said, no, I'm on a healthy, nutritional, take a look at what I need and go get it, and take away what I don't need and get rid of it. And so bringing those people in adds to the flavor and the realities of sports performance radio. And what we're doing at
and
KUHS.
She's got all kinds of different methods on what to eat, how to eat it, and you don't have to have these per se diets. She calls them diets, but per se diets like keto diet. She just knows how to get you to eat right.
Yeah, and this week I'm a rabbit. I have no animal products all week long, which is tough, and no caffeine. Henry, I have a caffeine underneath the counter because I don't want to, but. She said, well, you can have a little bit.
Is caffeine bad?
It's not bad, but at this point in what I'm doing, it blocks the nutrition I'm getting from the vegetables and the beans and nuts that I'm using.
Because I eat lots of nuts and lots of beans, and I still hit the caffeine like crazy.
Well, and
3 or 4 cups in the morning, but that's it.
Once I get away from the protocol to clean and stuff, I'm back to doing my routine on caffeine. Because I'm not overdoing
not
caffeine.
Overdoing it, just 2 or 3, maybe sometimes just 2.
What I learned from Nikki, though, is everybody metabolizes caffeine differently. And I'm grateful that I metabolize it really fast.
You got to go to the restroom.
No, I don't have to worry about it at 9 o'clock at night. People ask, well, you're drinking coffee at 9 o'clock at night? I go, yeah, it doesn't bother me. I sleep like a baby. I'm good. And so does my son. But he drinks, I'm concerned about him. Because there's also, even though caffeine may metabolize it quickly, it still has the calcium effect, so you could get plaque.
Okay, Lowell. Everybody wants to know some of these things, and maybe you can tell us 1 or 2 of things that you've had in your life, situations where you've been down at your worst, and come up from your worst to be your best. And then we're going to drop it off on them. Go ahead and tell us a story that you may have.
Yeah.
But we're going to stop it there and then save it for the next time that you come in, which will be way into the future, because there's a bunch of us here that I'm going to go through.
Some great people here.
Oh my God.
Some great people.
Some of the stories I'm hearing, I was like, oh my gosh.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And you're hearing some fabulous stories, and this is just a tiny bit of it. Because right here you do what, mountain climbing?
Well, that was at the Boulder when it was really cold and wet at the Boulder, which is why I'm wearing that jacket. And that was taken by Mike Anderson, the weatherman at Channel 7. Yeah, now that he's really a big shot.
Have you run the Boulder?
Yes, I have. I was running it 4
times.
4 times. I should run it again, but
I've ran it 6 times, and my son bet me I don't think it'd be under an hour on this last time, but I did it. I was in super shape. I ran with Tom Mustin of Channel 7.
I came close, but never have gone under an hour. Come close to just an hour.
Well, now, in the other 4, I was down at 42 minutes. So I was.
Well, excuse me.
But I'm older now. I've been running.
I was in 43 minutes because I was riding my bike. But that's a whole other story.
Now you ride a bike too.
Yes, I do.
What are the kind of methods of exercise you do?
Well, I'm a martial arts guy. I love karate. I'm a second-degree black belt in karate.
Is that just to take care of your children?
That's just to protect me from whatever might surprise me at night when I go to the bathroom at 2 o'clock in the morning. But I love yoga, martial arts. Basketball is my thing. I coached basketball for years. I've coached pretty much every sport. I played basketball and baseball in college. In the 70s, you could probably try to be a two-sport athlete. I gave it up in my sophomore year and stuck with basketball. My basketball coach my sophomore year was Lute Olson. I was really blessed with that. And quite honestly, my freshman year was great too because it was Dick Schultz.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Dick Schultz went on to be the president of the UOC, the Olympic Committee. But I remember his wife. So here's the story. So I'm an athlete. And this is back in the day when
this is the story we're going to end with.
Okay.
Is it? Or
yes.
You want to just say this story and end with the one that leaves them perplexed?
No.
Steve gave me one that I just couldn't believe.
Well,
I mean, getting out of the military by pretending
yeah,
he's gay.
that one I've heard. My God, that is just crazy stuff.
You've got one too, but you're not letting us. I'm going to pull it out of him. It's coming out right now.
Okay, so here's the preface to it. Mama, watch your babies. Okay, so especially if you know they're precocious, and I was precocious at a very young age. Now, I think my mom knew it right off the bat. My dad didn't consider it precocious because the word precocious implies that's kind of fun. My dad didn't think it was fun at all. So my dad, I would get away, and we lived in married student housing at the university. It was called the Teachers College, which is now called University of Northern Iowa, UNI, in Cedar Falls, Iowa. So because I got around a lot, and I would just open the door and go out and take off. And there were lots of fields around these married student housing that was these Quonset, these old military half-moon Quonset huts. And I decided I loved horses. So I knew where the horses were, but I'd never been there. I could see them in the distance. So at the ripe old age of 3.5, I think, I took off.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't know anything about horses. What 3.5-year-old knows really a lot about horses and how big their feet are and how tall they're. All I knew was they had really soft noses. That's what I wanted to touch, was the nose.
The soft nose.
So I get to the fence. Now, in retrospect, my parents told me that it was over a mile away that I walked to get to the horses.
My gosh.
I had no concept of distance. So I get to the horses, and it was on kind of a little side hill. So the horse had to kind of slide down to me and to the fence, and very, very friendly horse. Well, the horse, my little teeny feet at 3.5 years old, he didn't care about that. Well, he steps on my big toe. And it hurt. It hurt a lot. And so I walk home then, and my mom looks at my feet and goes, what the heck? How did this happen? And so she's all concerned about her baby boy. My dad gets home, and his thought was, let's fence this kid in. He's getting away too much. And, money was tight. So medical bills, insurance wasn't as comprehensive as it is today. So my dad was thinking about it as, he's costing me money. He's getting away. That could cost me more money. What am I going to do with him? Well, my dad had a job as a student. He had a job on the campus, and it was working with the utilities, basically snow plowing and taking care of the campus. Well, they had more than their fair share of access to those red snow fences. Those red slatted wire snow fences. My dad brings a section of that home, and he makes a circle in the front yard outside of our Quonset.
Oh my God!
Guess what that became?
Your
playpen. Exactly. Well, he did not know who I was very much. I crawled out. I saw how you could grab a hold. I crawled up over the fence. Now remember, I'm 3.5, and the fence is, I would say, probably 5 feet, at least 5 feet or more tall. At 3.5-year-old, I climb up over that and drop my ass down on the other side. So I get away again.
Oh my gosh.
And so my dad had another solution for me. And back in the day, the clothesline ropes.
Clothesline?
Well, and it wasn't wire. It was that hollow rubber kind of rope.
Oh, yeah.
That little, like, number 9 size rope. and so it's kind of stretchy and stuff. So my dad decides he's going to tether me inside the fence with that rope. So he does that. I'm 3.5. I don't think that this rope is going to be any kind of a deterrent. It's like a little thin piece of cord.
Biggie.
So I climb over again. It was too short. So I'm hanging on the other side of the fence. Well, I decided to climb over where my dad had tied the two ends of the fence together, and there was a wire exposed. When I slid down, the wire cut me from my waistline to my up to my chest. It was more of a scratch than anything, but my mom flipped out.
She was livid.
Well, guess what happened to my playpen outside?
It got thrown.
Yeah, exactly. It was gone away. Get rid of that. I'll take care of him. Now, with that being understood,
here we go. You're going to hear it. And then catch the next show after he tells you this story. You've been waiting for it. Check it out. Go ahead, Lowell.
So I was released, right? And interestingly enough, the University of Northern Iowa, or the Teachers College marching band for football practiced not too far away in the afternoons. Well, I would hear the music and the beats, and I'm going, I like this. It's really kind of cool. And so and it was closer, so it wasn't like a mile away to the horses. So I walked over there, and who's not going to like a 3.5-year-old who loves all these instruments? And the kids would lay on the grass and rest in between sessions. Well, the big bass drum looked really kind of cool. So
the big bass drum.
So it was laying on the circle side, right? So because if you did it on the edge, it would roll, right? Well, I picked it up and got it on its edge, and it took off. Started rolling down the hill. So my next door neighbors, my dad's best friend, who's next door neighbor, Dick Niedert, he had the old 8mm video cameras. So he films me chasing the bass drum down this hill, this 3.5-year-old running next to the side of this drum with a purple panther on it. So that defined my curiosity and my tenacity.
And the fun that Lowell's had all his life. And that's just a little bit that we gave you. We can give you quite a bit. Now he has a show here on KUHS. Fridays from 11 to 12, you want to catch that. And it's a great show. And tell us a little bit about the show before we close out, when to catch you, what you're doing on it. And it's been just been trending every week. You're right on point. Sometimes you go out of town, we can't carry the stream because something's not right.
Oh gosh, technology is our friend, right? Yeah, we love looking at performance issues, elite performance with executives and sports professionals, both amateur and professional. It's called 360 Performance, and we talk about performance issues, whether it's a nutritionist that helps understand how we can better perform and getting our mind right. We also talk about CBD, cannabis, treatments, things that are going to help athletes get prepared that are legal. We clarify those statements to make sure they're legal. We get the athlete in here, that elite performer, and talk to them about why they love their sport, why they love what they do, and what it takes for them to get that done.
Now, one thing you did have that was really sharp was the race car driver. She posted up nude, but not really. It was a great video, but you couldn't see nothing.
She's beautiful, and her husband is Graham Rahal, and that was the Indy 500, and it's Courtney Force, and so people like that. Her dad is John Force. Courtney she calls it retirement. I'm saying she's taking a break. This season, she's not racing this season. I think her and Graham want to have a family, but that's just my guess on this. But people like that are breaking barriers. She's a champion, an NHRA champion in funny car of a championship family. She married a champion from a championship family. The Rahal family is IndyCar seasoned. Graham ran the 500. He was at a lap, I think 129. He was in the top 10 until some other driver caught a wheel and spun him out. He wasn't happy about that. But that's the kind of people we bring to bear. We bring authors of books that talk about performance issues. We want your participation. So
11 to 12 on Fridays.
Yes, sir. Every Friday here on KUHSdenver.com.
And thanks for joining us with Lowell Wightman. You're your guest, and he's on the other side this time.
Yes,
You got
sir.
to hear what he does, who he is, and where he came from. And don't forget, coming up on our next show, it may be Big Mo, it may be Danny Ulibarri, the Love Doctor, it might be Paul Chavez, Mr. International, could be Sylvia Taziri, and talking to her about her lifestyle. It may be Greg Rashid from Bangkok, Thailand. I'm trying to get that organized. We're almost there, and we're going to have a from the future to the present, because he's 13.5 hours ahead of us out there on the in Bangkok, Thailand. It could be Johnny Johnson. He wants to be part of it. Tommy B. Somebody's going to be in it. Betsy wants to come and do it. Of course, Rhonda says, I'm in. So don't forget, everybody that's ready to go, and it could be Steve Watts. It could. I hope I didn't miss anybody.
But do me a favor, would you? When you have Sylvia in here, would you go down the hair route? Would you talk about hair?
We're going to talk about everything.
I want you to talk about hair.
Her
Hair
hair,
color,
everything.
hair length. Talk about hair.
So for now, we're going to say goodbye, and I hope you enjoyed this show up close and personal with all of KUHS's VDJs. V stands for Video DJs, because we not only do video, we do audio and video.
Thanks,
so
Henry.
for now, thank you.
Appreciate
that was
it,
great. Everybody loved that.
Thank you.